This is the Trophy Taker Smackdown Pro drop away rest, and this is a lot of people like this rest. This one's got a lot of great reviews. If you ever just look it up, mostly positive stuff you'll see, and that's just because it works so well, and it really does. This is another one of those rests that another drop away rest that tunes well on a lot of pretty well anything. I mean, especially a lot of the faster bows. Those faster bows these days, the past parallel preloaded stuff, they can give you trouble on some dropways depending on the specs, like what the draw length is and that kind of thing. But the way this rest works, it helps eliminate a lot of those problems, and therefore it kind of shines through in some cases, and that makes it a rest worth knowing about for sure. And then honestly, outside of that, it just does a good job as a drop away rest. But let's take a look at it together. It's always hard to open though. If you look at the packaging, it looks like it's one of those that's melted together, but you can slip in right through the back there. Okay. Alright, so the first thing you'll notice right out of the package, here real quick, is how solid it is. I mean, it is very, very well built, and it's an all-metal construction. It even has a stainless steel launcher arm. You can see it's got the felt going around it straight out of the package, another good thing. It's fully contained, and there's a little entrance right here for your arrow. When it's ready, you just throw the arrow down in it, and it sits, no problem. Can't bounce out, can't go anywhere. Plenty of adjustments for when you're tuning it. Looks good. Another thing you'll notice right away is that the launcher arm, in this case, comes already in the up position. A lot of dropaways out there work backwards. They're down. You have to lock them up with your thumb or something, but this is not how that works. Kind of goes back to the point of how well it can tune on faster stuff. It's the way it as a rest works, the way it functions, and this is part of it. So when there is slack, no tension on this cable, it is in the up position, and we usually install this as a limb driven rest on the bottom limb on most bows. And when we do that, you have to install it to where there is tension on this cable, and that will lower the launcher arm. So when you go to shoot, when you draw it back at full draw, it'll put slack back in the cable as your limbs kind of compress, and then that'll rise, and your arrow will be cradled the whole time as this rises up. And then when you shoot, limbs go back down, and it does the rest. Now when it drops, you won't hear any noise because they had the foresight to put these little bushings here, which is really cool. So you got these dampeners already built in, so no matter how hard that hits, they're going to just come to a nice dead, nothing. So that's awesome. Tunes good, feels good, looks good. I mean, everything that needs to be there is there. This particular design, arrows sit in it sits in this kind of shape really easily. Like if you had a more rounded shape or something, arrows can kind of bounce around, but where it comes to such a sharp point here, the arrow really can't bounce around too much. I mean, you can kind of turn your bow sideways and it still don't want to go anywhere. So that was a good call too. But all in all, and you can install this a little differently too, by the way. Like it doesn't have to be a limb driven rest. I've seen it done a couple of different ways. That's just how we usually prefer to do it, and most of the time that's how I see them set up on faster bows, and it just depends on the situation, like I talked about before. We use a method sometimes of tying it to the limb, like on past parallel split limb bows, but it does come with like a little clamp here that you can use to install. It makes it really easy for you. One of my production guys, he actually uses this as his primary rest. I filmed him taking a shot, so if you don't care, we'll take a quick look at that. But this is the Trophy Taker Smackdown Pro. Just wanted to let you guys have a chance to look at it here. So let's check it out in action. Here is the rest installed on the bow. If you notice, the launcher arm is in the down position because currently the bow is not being drawn back, so the limbs are not compressed enough to put slack into the cable that connects from the rest to the limb itself. You can see how tight it is at the moment. This is how we connected the cable to the bow itself. We used the knot method in this case, which is just like a slip knot, and there's a little rubber piece to keep the cable from touching the limb, and that's how we installed it on this one. Notice when he draws the bow back that the launcher arm comes into the up position. This is happening because the limbs are being compressed, allowing for slack in the cable that connects the rest to the bow itself. This is what causes the launcher arm to come into the ready position. When he shoots, the limbs go back to normal, putting tension back in the cable, which brings the launcher arm back down. And that's pretty well how it works. Let's see that shot in slow motion so we can get a better look at it.
once you see it in action like this, it's pretty clear to see how well it works. It's a pretty awesome rest. So if you are in the market for a good high-end drop away that works really nice, check out the Trophy Taker Smackdown Pro for sure. It's a good one.